and welcome to Third and Wine. I have to get used to saying that because it's only my second episode, and I know literally 1 week I'm going to slip up and probably say the real football fans in New Jersey, but that's okay. But this is Third and Wine. Again, this is my second episode, and I'm so excited to be here for another week. I just, this podcast so far has picked up in 3 weeks, and I think that's incredible. And I have a great following behind me. So thank you to everyone who has tapped in via the pod or live. I just really appreciate everyone. And I, am committed to delivering the best of the best football content to you every single week. So right now we are live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. So please feel free to engage throughout the episode. And I will not wait any longer because I have a really awesome guest with me this week. And I'm so happy that she said yes to coming on the show because you never know. Sometimes you put the feelers out there and people say no. But I will not wait any longer. So I'm going to introduce my guest. This is Sam Cardona. Sam, thank you so much for being here with me tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. I have to say, it's been, I think, a year since someone asked me to be on a podcast. So
I'm shocked about that.
I've taken a little bit of a step back from the podcasting world with my jobs and everything that I've been doing. So when you asked me to come on, I was like, oh my God, yes, I need to do this because it's been so long since I was able to do something like this apart from doing Big Blue Avenue. So I'm really stoked to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And honestly, I couldn't think of anyone better because I love women in sports. I know, lately that's been a big conversation. It always is. And I think you are one of the best in the game. So I've loved sitting down with you on Big Blue Avenue in the past. But yeah, so just to get us started, can you let our audience know who you are, what you do, how you are in the creator world with football and everything like that and other sports, and where people can find you on social media?
For sure. So my name is Sam Cardona. I have gone by the Girl Who Talks Sports for, I think, oh my God, almost 5 years now.
That's great.
I started my podcast right after I graduated from college. I don't do long form content as much anymore just because I'm just so busy. But I'm very active on my socials. You can follow me on Twitter at SamTGWTS or on Instagram at the Girl Who Talks Sports. And right now what I do work in sports. I run content for a sports betting app called Mojo, which is the sports stock market. Really cool stuff. We just opened, we started with football and we've opened up now to basketball and we're doing March Madness stuff now. So that's really cool. But me and my two coworkers, one of them who some people may know is Sporty Jordy. She's a big Eagles content creator.
I've seen her.
Yes. We're very good friends. So we do work together and we run all the content on all the channels for Mojo. And we put out some really fun stuff. So if you guys want to follow us there, we're Mojo across the board, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, all at Mojo, MOJO.
Yeah, it's an interesting platform. I've looked into it recently. I've seen them at a couple of Giants games, going around and talking to people. So that's how I initially had heard of them.
That would be me.
Yeah.
We had a plane with a Mojo banner going around MetLife for such a long time. So yeah, makes sense.
It is interesting, honestly, the whole idea around a stock market for athletes and things like that. So anyone listening right now, if you haven't had a chance, like Sam said, they are Mojo across the board. So definitely check that out for sure. And good for you creating the content for them. So you're giving the people what they want. So.
Definitely. I try my best. And after we have broken away from football a little bit, I had to step out of my comfort zone just a bit, but it's been really fun learning more about basketball, learning more about college basketball. I don't know anything about college basketball.
Right.
I'll be super transparent, apart from March Madness and stuff like that. Yeah. So it's been a fun time.
That's me. I'm the person right now that thinks they know what they're talking about because it was March Madness because I made a bracket, but in reality, I have no idea what's going on. Same. Yeah, and I just picked Alabama to win because I'm a huge Alabama football fan. So tied.
They're the first seed. So
we'll see what just worked out for me. So we'll see what they can do. All right. So usually I ask my audience, prior to the show, if they have any questions leading in. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. So obviously, if you have questions, if you're watching live, please go ahead and send them in throughout the episode. But Sam, I got a couple of questions around, the Giants with free agency and the draft and things like that. So we're actually going to get that. I already had that slated for the episode, but I did get a funny question, and I think it's very relevant and it's a great question because it is definitely up in the air every single single year. So the one question was, will we actually beat Dallas twice this year? Yes, twice, because we don't even beat them once in a season. So I would love to know what you think will happen this year. Can we actually pull off a W?
I would say at this point in time, honestly, I do feel like we could split the series next year. I do think we can do a 1-1 because if we could do it with Philly and they made it all the way to the Super Bowl, like I feel like it's very possible for that to happen. Obviously, we didn't do that this past year, but nonetheless, it's happened in the past. But yeah, I definitely think that it's the Cowboys are so weird because you put like I constantly in my brain I'm like the Cowboys are not good. Like in my brain I'm always thinking that. And then all of a sudden they're like 10-1 and I'm like wait. What? Wait. I thought that they were not that great of a team. Personally I hate that he's on the Cowboys, but I really like Dak Prescott. I think that he's a really good player. I think he's a good quarterback. But I mean, they just lost Zeke. This is like kind of like this like restructuring kind of year. People were concerned about McCarthy for a while in terms of his coaching. But I feel like this confidence is coming up not only in our roster, but in our coaching staff. And I feel like the Giants are not a team to be messed with next year. I'm very, very excited for this upcoming football season for the Giants because I feel like it's going to be a complete 180 than where we were 2-3 years ago, for sure.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think a lot of it has to do like with what has happened over the last couple of weeks, how we ended the season, everything like that, like coming off of that momentum, like, well, we may have lost in the divisional round. Like we winning a playoff game against, the Vikings was really big for us to kind of go out on, I think. And just, again, what we've been doing over the last couple of weeks and just kind of like seeing the guys and their training. And then the season officially starts and we're going to the draft. Like, I think we're in a really good position. And I agree with you. I am confident that we will split the series this year. We almost pulled off that dub. I was there at the Monday night game. I was so excited. The whiteout, like it was there. Like, I just feel like it was there and it was, but then it wasn't. It was just like,
I was so close to actually, crazy enough, that whiteout game, that was my first day ever at Mojo. That was my first day of work. And we went to Red's, the bar that's like nearby. And we were doing stuff and we were so close to going to that game. And I was like, oh my God, it would be amazing if we went and then they won and I was there. And then we started watching it like at Reds and I was like, yeah, I'm just going to go home. I'm not going to sit through this.
Yeah. I mean, that was like a sign though, like as a Giants fan, like I knew the season was going to be different. Being in that stadium with people actually taking the whiteout seriously. I don't know why it was white because I don't have anything white for the Giants. Like I had to like literally borrow my sister's sweatshirt, which I bought for her birthday a couple of years ago. So it worked out. My gift to her worked out for me in the long run. But I'm looking around and it's a sea of white. And I'm like, good for you people, whether you had to scramble like me or you already have a white jersey. And it was just like, you just like felt an atmosphere of people who wanted to be there and just like felt excited. So like, I knew from that moment, like it was a loss against Dallas and that sucked, but it was such a momentum shift, like in my fandom, like in my respect for the people surrounding me, the players on the field and everything like that. Like it just, I knew that the season was going to be different. And oh my God, what a fun freaking season. Like,
oh my God. I totally feel that though, because I've gone to a couple of Giants games last year and I went to the Giants Bears game, which we won. And then I did go to the Giants Eagles game at MetLife, which we didn't win, which was a different story. But the one where we were playing the Bears was a fairly good game. Right. And we were like on top most of the game. And I was like, wow, these people actually want to be here and they're actually cheering for this team. And it was like such a mood shift. It was like crazy.
Yeah, definitely good for sure. And we're going to get more into the Giants and we're going to talk about kind of, where they were last year, what we're going to see in 2023. But let's dive into free agency.
Oh boy.
It has been the most, I'm going to say in the last 5 years, this has been the most chaotic last 2 weeks of free agency I've seen in a really long time. But I'm not surprised because, prior to launching Third and Wine, when I was doing Real Football Fans in New Jersey, every other week, we just kept bringing up the free agency list to remind our audience, these are the people, like this is a stacked free agency list. Like so many players were free agents and I'm not surprised that these moves have been made, but there's so many eye-opening ones too. Like, holy shit, I did not think that was going to happen, where that person was going to land. So it has been absolutely crazy. So I'm just going to read off some of the top ones that I've seen.
Yeah.
Get your feedback on any of them that come out to you, and then we'll dive into the Giants specifically. So, all right. So we got the Falcons taking Taylor Heineke. With the Panthers, you've got Von Bell, Andy Dalton, Miles Sanders, which is the most recent one from the Eagles.
Yep.
Then you've got the Browns. This was announced today, but it's not spoken about that much. Dalvin Tomlinson went over to the Browns today. So
I did see that.
I am a little shocked that the Vikings were open to I don't know how much they fought for him behind the scenes. I'm a little upset the Giants didn't tap into that. I cried and he left the Giants, love him. With the Lions, David Montgomery, I thought that was a huge snack for them. And then with the Eagles, they've got Rashad Penny. They brought back James Bradbury, which was massive for the Eagles. I'm
heartbreaking.
Not happy about it, but it's a big contract. 3 years, 38 million with 20 million guaranteed. So that's pretty big for them. And then they also brought back Fletcher Cox. It's a 1-year deal, but I think it makes sense there. With the Raiders, they got Jimmy Garoppolo and Jacoby Myers. They obviously bring in a new quarterback. You gotta, bring in that wide receiver too. I think the Patriots that's a big loss for the Patriots. He was their guy. So we'll see what Mac Jones can do with Juju, because now, Juju went over there. So we'll see what we can do there. Miami Dolphins, they got Mike White. So the Jets are in a pretty interesting situation. I guess everyone's hoping that Aaron Rodgers is going to work out. But if he doesn't, Zach Wilson's your guy, because Mike White is now down in Miami. So very interesting there. With the Saints, Derek Carr, that was a big topic of conversation on my last episode. But they also did re-sign Jameis. So Jameis Winston is back with Derek Carr there. And they got Jamal Williams the other day, which I think is a big push for them. And then my final kind of just big call out is the Bucks taking Baker Mayfield. I don't understand it. I guess if I were the Rams, I would have fought to pull him in and keep him. I'm not a huge Matthew Stafford fan. I don't see the potential there. And obviously he's coming off a big injury. So I'm in no way, shape, or form would Baker Mayfield start over Matthew Stafford. And that's coming from a Stafford hater. But it worked out so perfectly when you pulled him in last year with that injury. Keep him as your backup. So I don't know how hard they fought behind the scenes, but for him to go to the Bucks, that just sucks in my opinion. So that's kind of the big high level view that I pulled in. Literally anyone listening, watching right now, there was shit going on right when I started this live stream. So please don't come after me for things that are going on, because I don't even know what's going on. So, Sam, any thoughts on that list I just read right there?
Yeah, I mean, I remember the Jimmy G thing happened so fast.
Yeah.
It was the second 4 o'clock came around, or not 4 o'clock, 12 o'clock came around. It was Jimmy G's going to the Raiders.
Right.
It was already discussed. And I was like, oh, okay, great. Because it just I thought that was going to be a little bit more continuous, because I know maybe the Jets were a little bit interested in case the Aaron Rodgers thing didn't, work out. I love Mike White going to the Dolphins. I think that's wonderful. I absolutely adore it, because if you think about it, and unfortunately, I do like Tua, and I do think that Tua could be a really great quarterback. But
I love Tua.
I assume that you would, being he's from Alabama, but he unfortunately has this horrible injury list.
I know.
And to have someone like Mike White as your backup, I think is very, very solid. I think that when I saw that happen, I was like, oh, that sucks. My other coworker is a Jets fan, and he was like, Mike White's dead to me. I wanted him to be on the Jets forever.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I love it.
The love for him is so crazy. He just people were ready to ship off Zach Wilson for Mike White to take it all from him.
I honestly, I
get it.
I feel like I'm gonna save this a little bit for our last segment on the show for whining, but I hate Zach Wilson.
Okay.
I'll hate. I will just hold that in for just a little bit longer, but I hate everything about him. But yeah, I think that the other one, I don't think you mentioned this one, but Orlando Brown went to the Bengals.
Okay, yeah.
And I think that's huge for Cincinnati, huge for Joey B. That was so needed for 2-3 years now. They've needed somebody like him. So I thought that was really, really big. And Jamal Williams, I was like, that he is so not only like a talented player, but he also just seems like the most likable human being
He
on the
seems like
planet.
the weirdest human being
He
on the
seems so
planet.
strange. So strange. But he's just
Yeah.
always happy and like
Yeah.
very good vibes. So
Yeah.
I know why Detroit was like super upset about losing him, but I feel like
Oh,
him going
yeah.
to the Saints is a huge deal and like a huge momentum shift for them. Jameis I was surprised about on the Saints, honestly.
I just don't get the point.
Yeah.
If I were him too at this, I would just be like, I don't understand it either as a player. Like he came out last season speaking about feeling disrespected. He came back from
Yeah.
injury and Andy Dalton was still starting for them and it wasn't. And like, it seems like there's a lot of miscommunication and maybe, I don't know, Sean Payton, I don't know, like, no, excuse me. I didn't mean to say that. I know I'm like, Sean Payton. The fact that he's coming back to the NFL is just like funny for did not mean to mention his name. I just because I'm thinking of their current coach and I'm blanking on his name and
Dennis Allen.
I don't think he's a good coach. That's where my head is at right now, like trying to get across. So I feel like there is that miscommunication like amongst team members, but with Derek Carr and Jamal Williams, I think that's a good pairing because you're bringing in a veteran quarterback. You need to bring in other players that have been around to build up because I'm not a fan of Michael Thomas. I knew he wasn't going to do anything last year. I have so many friends that picked him up in fantasy for like I'm saying for cheap because they got him in later rounds and they were so excited. And I was like, he's not going to do anything for you. Injury every single week. And then Alvin Kamara, great player, but I'm just, it's at this time where it's not anymore. I'm not seeing it. So Derek Carr's going to need people around him. Bring in people that have been around that are producing, just not have been there for the Saints already. Like they got to like wash it, I think.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Kamara is probably going to get suspended or something or other for what went down.
And I fucking hope so.
Yeah, I hope so too. And I know that Derek Carr also, the coach is Dennis Allen, and I know that Carr and Allen have played on the same team together when he was with the Raiders.
Got it.
So, or not played, but Allen was a coach. So I think that they're familiar with one another and it's probably a good fit for them. I mean, I don't have anything against the Saints. I think that I'd like to see them perform better because I feel like after watching Drew Brees for so many years, you want to see that team continue to rise. But I don't know if they're going to be outstanding, but it'll be interesting to see Derek Carr go from black and silver to black and gold.
I mean, it's only a little bit of a color shift.
A little bit of an outfit shift, but
Yeah. I think with the Saints, what I'll agree with you is that they were good for so long. And it's not like they are completely like shitting the bed and are like an embarrassing organization. They're just not doing anything to improve themselves. And that to me as a football fan is super frustrating. Like I have no ties to New Orleans. I have no ties to the Saints, anything like that. But just as an outside perspective of a football fan, watching how teams organize themselves and try to build up, I just think the last couple of years, they haven't done anything. And that's frustrating to watch. So now we're kind of seeing some shifts in this off season, and I'd like to see what they do in the draft because maybe, come August, we're going to see these shifts make more sense for them. So
for sure.
All right, so let's talk about the Giants because they have done some things over the last 2 weeks in this little period we've had here. So, all right. So, as of today, wide receiver Jeff Smith is coming over from the Jets. We've got our biggest one, tight end Darren Waller, coming over from the Raiders. And then we've got inside linebacker Bobby. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okereke. It's Bobby.
That sounds right.
Bobby Okereke from the Colts. If anyone listened to my old podcast, I can't pronounce anyone's name. It does not matter what it looks like. Like I was nervous pronouncing your last name. It's so bad. And I do this for this podcast. I actually also do something for like work too, professionally, like interview people. It's just something. And like, I'm always like, tell me 3 weeks in advance of the interview what your name is and how to pronounce it and everything. So I am just like, I probably shouldn't be in this position pronouncing professional athletes' last names, but I'm pretty sure it's Okereke. So Bobby Okereke. So hold that from the Colts. And then we have defensive tackle Raheem Nunez Roches from the Bucks. So that was the first move the Giants made. And then shortly before, I mean, they're obviously making other moves like with signings and things like that. Obviously, Daniel Jones, Sterling Shepard, Saquon Barkley. And then right before the show, Darius Slayton is coming back to the New York Giants. So I know that first name I had read on the list, Jeff Smith, wide receiver, a lot of people were like, that's going to be Darius Slayton's replacement and things like that. And I saw things like, oh, like, why are you calling him an upgrade? I think people were happy and calling him an upgrade. I guess at that point, that was a sign that Slayton was going to move on. So I'm happy that I opened my phone right before the show and saw that we did bring him back. I do love Darius Slayton, and I like his relationship with Daniel Jones. I want to see more, obviously. I think that there's been some monumental drops on his end, and I would like to fix those. But I do like his relationship with Daniel Jones. I like that he's coming back. I didn't agree with when people assumed he was leaving, calling, Smith an upgrade. I think it was just a replacement, because if I'm the New York Giants, I am filling that wide receiver slot with 5,000 people. Like, I need 5,000 wide receivers on my team, because look what happened last season. And I was calling this going into the 2022 season because we'd seen it in 2020 and 2021. We were getting hit left and right in that wide receiver spot. I was like, we don't have a number one. We're losing people to injury. We're not sure what we're doing. And history repeated itself in 2022, but like really badly. Like I probably put the bad juju out into the space, to be honest. So, but now if I'm Joe Shane, I'm like, literally, we need 5,000 wide receivers. So I'm not surprised they're pulling these people in. You're keeping Sterling Shepard. You obviously, you're moving forward with Isaiah Hodgins. We're going to look in the draft. I mean, I think that's a top pick for us 100%, but then we're making free agency moves. We're bringing in Darius Slayton. So that's just kind of, my thought with that, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I was unsure whether or not Slayton was going to stay when they released him or whatever, and then I was like, it didn't seem like solid to me. Right. And I was like, I wonder if they're gonna do this or not. And then they signed the guy from the Jets. And I was like, I still didn't feel, because like you said, like, I feel like you should be signing all of these wide receivers. Yeah. And I think that the front office has a similar idea of having a larger wide receiver room. Because in my brain now, what I'm thinking is that Darren Waller is going to be the face of our offense.
Love it.
And it's almost going to be similar to the way Kelsey is to Mahomes. Yep. Like, we want that Daniel Jones to tight end.
I love every second of it.
Like, that's what I like. Because if you think about it, you're like, yes, obviously the Chiefs have wide receivers and everything, but like, who's Patrick Mahomes like target? Like, he's gonna hit Travis every time as much as he can. So like, that's why I'm feeling like, obviously we need wide receivers. I would love more wide receivers. I love Slayton, and I know that he's actually he knows what he did wrong. He knows what he needs to improve on with the drops and everything. But I'm so confident in Darren Waller. Like, it's unreal how confident I am in that man. And I feel like having guys, like a multitude of like lower end guys, even Hodgins, he's only been on the team for a year. Right. I want him to be that wide receiver one. I want him to go into that position. But like right now, it's not going to be that right away.
Right.
So I hope that Darren comes in and fills that role, and we can use these wide receivers more the way the Chiefs offense are doing things in terms of, hitting Waller as much as possible. And that guy is, oh my God. We interacted on Twitter about this. I was so excited. Beside myself.
It was so unexpected. Like, good for the Giants. Like, good for our management going out and getting him. Like,
just like not one single ounce of me had any idea that we were going to be getting anybody like Darren Waller. No. Not even for a moment.
No, like my opening up Twitter, I thought the biggest name was going to be Jerry Jeudy. Like, I thought we'd be in contention with him. Yes. But to go after a big name tight end, I don't think we're going to get Jerry Jeudy now. But and then kind of sprinkle in some other people, like a wide receiver or things like that. Like, incredible because it makes me laugh because it's a position that the Giants have lacked for a very long time.
Mhm.
But over the past couple of seasons, we've been trying to push the agenda of getting more weapons, but people just bring up a wide receiver, or we've been in desperate need of a pass rusher. So obviously, thank God we got Kayvon.
Yes.
But we're pushing the agenda for the positions we really need, but it's so funny for the shadow to always be on the tight ends. I love Daniel Bellinger. He's a blocker. He's an incredible tight end. To have him pair up with a guy like Darren Waller, who is just there to be a threat to receive that ball downfield, that's a dynamic duo that I need in two tight ends. So
100%.
Gone with the conversations of we're bringing in Darren Waller to be tight end one. Why are we doing that to Daniel Bellinger? They're two different players, but we need that dynamic in a tight end. Yeah.
You're literally like speaking what my mind has been thinking this like these last couple of days, because I love Daniel Bellinger. And if anybody has seen Big Blue Avenue, I'm on a podcast, Big Blue Avenue. It's all Giant stuff with my co-host Tom and Hank, and Caitlin has been on it with us, which was lovely. But I talk about Darren Waller like he is like living in my house. I love that man so much. I'm just like, oh, Daniel. Oh, yeah, Daniel did this. Oh, Daniel hurt his eye. Oh, I hope he's okay. I hope Daniel's okay. I love that man. And I think that you're 100% correct that dynamic of two tight ends is going to be wonderful, because not only can he learn from Darren Waller, who's a veteran, but he can use his strengths to push this offense forward in the best ways possible. Darren Waller can go out and do his thing. And I think that it's just going to be a beautiful, beautiful relationship. I could not be more ecstatic for the tight end position on the Giants. And I was stoked when Kyle Rudolph got brought on.
Oh, me too. I really did like that. Yeah. It's a shame it didn't work out. But
I know. I was like so ready for
me
it.
too.
I was like, he's gonna be in the red zone. He's our red zone threat. He blah 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 blah. Stats. Nothing. Like one time. I think he had one catch in the end zone the entire time he was with us. So I was like, you know what? It's fine. But I adore the tight end position on the Giants, and it's gonna be wonderful.
So real quickly on Bobby Ukereke, which, why do I keep bringing him up? Because I can't pronounce his name. So digging into kind of who he is as a player on the Colts. So big shout out to our friends over at Talkin' Giants, because they always dig real in. So our friend Justin Pennick actually reached out to one of their connections that is a Colts fan. So his reaction for Bobby is that, or his feedback is that he's a ball hunter. He's very good instincts for the ball. And I'm reading out a text message right here, especially in the run game, long and pretty solid tackler as an eye test. The only debate is him in coverage and things like that. So he's playing very well, they're saying. So, and that he moves and he can be multiple different positions. So they had him as an inside linebacker, but you can move him to outside linebacker as well. So I really liked seeing that. I'm the type of person when these trades do happen, I'm diving into their fan base and trying to understand, because we're Giants fans. Clearly, I know who these players are, everything about them. And then being an Alabama fan, I know the ins and outs of every Alabama player in the NFL. So, but those are my guys, like those who I know. So other people like on other teams, like, yeah, of course, like we've got the big names, but someone like, Bobby, I need that extra support, that extra education. So seeing a text message, like a personal text message like that from a fan, like is very reassuring to see. So I love the fact that I was able to discover that. So shout out again to our friends at Talkin' Giants, because definitely wanted to see some positiveness there. So I think he could be a threat for us as well.
Yeah, 100%. And we've been looking for somebody to fill the linebacker role that Blake Martinez left behind. Right. And I think that Bobby is I'm just going to call him Bobby. Bobby's going to come in here and, for paying him $40 million, I think that's a solid amount of money that you go and you fill that linebacker role that we need you to fill in. So,
agreed.
But it was definitely needed too. Like we needed that extra help. And I think I just saw a clip actually on Twitter of him like tackling Daniel Jones.
Oh yeah, I seen that.
And I was like, oh, okay. I'm glad that you're not doing that to Daniel Jones anymore, and that you're doing it to somebody else.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it looks like a great player. Like you said, I'm not as familiar with someone especially from like the Colts. I'm not super familiar with
Right.
like their in-depth roster, or their defensive roster. So I think that it's going to be a good fit. And even my co-host said that they liked it. So I
Yeah.
trust them and I trust their judgment.
Absolutely. All right, so let's dive back into the Giants a little bit more. And just to refresh, the audience, whether you're watching live or listening to the on-demand version later through your favorite podcast outlet, what I'm trying to do over the next couple of weeks is bring in, someone from each fan base. So it's easy to sit down and talk with you, Sam, because we're both Giants fans. But last week was great because the previous episode I had an Eagles and a Chiefs fan on. And I was able to get them come head to head and sit down and hash out the Super Bowl, but hash out their seasons, because clearly the Chiefs and the Eagles had outstanding 2022 seasons. So my goal over the next couple of weeks, as we approach the NFL draft, I wanted to sit down with the fans and really understand, from your perspective, what the 2022 season looked like for you and where we're going to head in the future. So for the Giants specifically, what were kind of like your main takeaways for our 2022 season?
I definitely I think one of the main things I saw, especially in the beginning of the season, was when a healthy Saquon is on the field, it's insane.
Yeah.
Like, we are so much better of a team with Saquon, and it's unfortunate that we haven't been able to have that for the past couple of years. So my biggest takeaway in terms of that was that Saquon needs to stay healthy, and we need to pay the man when the time comes around, and we need to keep him on the Giants because he is we don't need to get rid of him to then try and fill that role again. Like, he is the guy. If he stays healthy, I'm so okay with keeping him around. I was so nervous that he was going to leave these past couple of weeks, and because I didn't know what was going on with the Daniel Jones's contract and whatnot. But that was one of the big things. The other thing on the other side of the ball was the run defense for the Giants was like Swiss cheese. It was terrible. And I was worried every week because I think week 1 we played the Titans.
And it was good. Derrick Henry didn't do anything.
I know. We had to go up against Derrick Henry, and I was like so nervous, and I was like, oh my God, this is going to be terrible. And it really wasn't that bad. But you did see the problems within the run defense for sure. And that was something I know that they're definitely filling in with that guy that we brought on, Nunez Roches. And I think that's going to be a big help for that. And then overall, the main takeaway from this season for me was that people needed to stop hating on Daniel Jones, because I have been on this train for years, and I've been trying to say, like, give the kid a chance, give the kid a chance. And they're like, we've given him enough chances. And I'm like, I know, but give him one more chance. And I
don't think we've given him enough chances. So I disagree with those people.
I've always been like, I have video evidence of me on draft night, like, going, oh my, like, I was like, that's a good pick. Like, I feel like this could be good.
I feel like I was like, who the fuck is that?
It was crazy. That was like my first year, like, really getting into like my sports career, and I was doing deep dives into people. So I saw Daniel Jones, I saw Duke, and I remember watching film on him, and then I remember him getting picked, and I was like, oh, I know who that is. I was like, oh my God, this actually might be pretty good. And then I was like, and he looks like Eli, so like, how much of a difference can it be? And I think he's better than Eli, honestly. Personally, I think
it's the run. I think the run definitely
more mobile. It's like very
that puts it. It's
for sure. For sure.
It's so funny.
So I think that Daniel Jones, and I think a lot of people have come out and said that they are like, sorry for disrespecting this man for so long, because it was very obvious that anytime we lost a game, it was never really his fault. Like, it was always something else going on. But he stepped up so much. I adore the kid. I really do. And I'm happy he signed. I'm happy we have him for a little bit longer. And will sit on the top of the Daniel Jones hill till the day I die.
I mean, I will too. I think I was very, open and honest about it going into the 2022 season. It was, it was his make or break year. And I think 100%. that was, I stood by him, during the shit times, but he was also handed just really shitty management and teams. So that's just unfortunate with people. Like, everyone compares the NFL to a business. So think of your day job, my day job. If the people around you aren't performing and they suck, chances are you're going to be bad too. And you're going to be miserable day to day and you're just not going to perform. And guess what? If you're the leader of that team and you're not performing, it all comes down to you. So NFL players always want to say, yeah, compare this to your daily life. Well, there you go. I just did. So like it's pretty much that simple, but I was very transparent. Like if he didn't perform this season, then that would have been it. And that's exactly how things go. But he did. He fixed his fumbles. He did still have a couple of different things, but he led us in so many different areas. So I'm happy, the kid got paid. There's definitely still some haters out there. But listen, again, it comes back to the realism of it. Of course, he has to prove himself. We're not sitting here being like, oh, yeah, of course we paid him. He's going to be the best thing for 5 years. Hell no. I'm still need to see that this kid's going to got to do stuff. Like I want him to do stuff. So I also don't want to. I never cheer poorly for people on my own team. Like, why would you want someone to
Yeah, I know. Bad? Why would you want anyone to fail on your own team?
Like, stop. Like, this year was just so eye-opening and so exciting for people. Like, as Giants fans, like, why? Like, let's keep doing this. Like, it was fun. Like, let's stop being miserable for a season.
Know.
Like, Jesus. But yeah, the draft is funny. I remember, like, my couch is over to the right of me. I remember being like I think I was in this house for like a year or two at this point, and I was just like sitting on my couch and just like as they said his name, I like kind of slowly like fell off the couch because I just didn't know like I wasn't expecting it, and I have to go back to the draft and see who I was actually expecting at that point. Because it's so funny year after year when I go back and analyze the Giants and who I originally thought they were going to pick, like, and then who they actually did. Like, I got to tell you, Saquon was the only person that I think I predicted, and they took him. Like, I need to go back and look at that because I always find it so intriguing, honestly. But yeah, so I just remember like sliding off the couch being like, ah, shit. Like it worked out. And hopefully it does work out for us. But I think those are really good takeaways. Again, a pretty exciting, unexpected season from the Giants. And I think things are only going to get better for us for sure.
Definitely.
All right, so let's move over into kind of where we're going. So as we move, so we've done some stuff in free agency already. And we've already shared our thoughts on that. Moving into the draft, what positions do you think we should be targeting with our early picks? And, do you have anyone in mind right now? So I must say, this is a draft I need to study up on outside of the quarterbacks. I'm like QB heavy right now. Outside of quarterbacks, I really need to hone in a little bit more on.
Yeah, I definitely did a little bit of research on this just because I'm the same. Like, like the main guys, and then there's you want to know more about like the second, third, fourth round guys that you might be able to pick up. That's like a nice little gem that you get later on. Like I remember we got Azeez Ojulari in the second round. And I was like, oh, that was so good. It's so well done. I definitely, wide receiver is definitely on the list. The only thing I'm nervous about is getting a wide receiver in the first round is that we are pretty low because we actually played well. So like we're not in the top 10 anymore. And I wonder if it might just be worth it to wait to the second round to get a wide receiver or even later on. I feel like a corner might be someone that we should be honing in on. A couple guys that I had seen, there's Clark Phillips from Utah and Cam Smith from South Carolina. Those were two guys that had caught my eye in terms of corners. Because I think that our secondary is good, but I think that there's definitely times where we can
be better.
Of course. And I feel like you could say that about almost every position, I feel like. But I think that would be really, really good. Linebacker, defensive lineman, like those kind of guys. It's like, unfortunately for the draft, it's not like the sexiest names to say, like you want that, the quarterback, the running back, Bijan Robinson, I want him, so like, we don't need people like that because on the bright side of things, we are developing a very solid offense, which is great. Wide receivers, I did look into Rashee Rice because from SMU, really small little guy, just run around all over the place. I'd be like, that'd be great to have somebody like him in the wide receiver room. So he's someone that I have my eye on, and somebody else is Kayson Bout from LSU. And those are a couple guys that I'm just going to be looking into. But honestly, I feel like this is because I feel like last year we had those two picks, and I think I knew where we were going.
Yeah.
with those picks. And this year, I'm like really not sure.
I have no idea. Like, I am not confident. I don't know anything.
I think I normally feel like I'm like, okay, this is what we need. And this is
Yeah.
what we should get. And this is who it should be. And
Yeah.
like, that was me last year, at least with Evan Neal. Like, I was like, we need Evan Neal and get
Yeah.
him at 5. And when we didn't pick him at 5, I was like, oh my God. Like, oh
know.
my God. And then we got him at 7. And I was like, oh my God. Oh my
I
God.
know.
Like, it was crazy. But this year, I'm really just like not sure. You know,
Yeah.
I trust Joe Shane.
I do.
With my life.
Me too.
Like, that man could literally, there would be someone holding a gun to my head. I'd be like, Joe Shane will save me.
Call
Everything's
him.
fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great. So I
Yeah.
feel like whatever does happen in the first round is probably going to be for the benefit of our team. Yep. I just have no idea what it's going to be.
Yeah. I think he knows how to run a team. I think he knows how to bring, I mean, the fact that he pulled off Kayvon and Evan Neal was insane. Like, I don't know how to this day the Giants pulled that off, getting both of them, because I was in your boat. It was one or the other. And I was going back and forth up until draft night, not knowing. And then I finally moved with Evan Neal because I obviously know Evan Neal front and back, and he's going to get better. Everyone listening, I promise you, like, don't, like, I hate people that talk like stupid things. He's going to get better. He's not Eric Flowers. Don't worry about it. Like, he's going to get better. Like, I promise. Like, I've seen this kid, like, he is just an absolute, like,
he's a beast.
But it's a transition. People don't understand that either. It's a huge transition going from college, even at a good school like Alabama, over to the NFL. Like, it really is. And for a position and an offensive lineman, like, look at the guys he's going up against too in the NFL that are they're big and they're fast. And Evan Neal's like, oh shit, this guy's coming after me. Like, it is tough out there. So he will get better. But it was one or the other. And he was able to pull off both of them. And I think that, you know, the rest of the draft last year was very in favor for the New York Giants. So I think that they'll do the right thing. I am very much, I like your idea that don't go wide receiver in the first round. I've been pushing that for a while now. But with the recent happenings with bringing back, you know, veterans and, you know, looking at free agency and pulling some new people in, you know, can we get someone still and, you know, in the later rounds and be confident? You know, I think of like Wan'Dale Robinson. I actually thought we went after him too early last year, but it worked out for the Giants. It really did. So I'm happy about that. I'm happy to have him come back. Honestly, it was so crappy to see him get hurt last season. He was having a great rookie year. Yeah. So I'm very much excited to see him come back. But that was something that I questioned, is it too early last year? So I like where you're going at with this year. You know, is the first round too early for a wide receiver?
Yeah, just because of this draft itself too. You know, it's not a wide receiver star draft.
Yeah.
So like,
it's a big running back class, which is we don't really need that. But it is a running back class, which is very interesting, because I'm interested to see where they're all gonna go, like who's gonna nab like one of the top running backs.
Sure. Yeah. I just think that at this point, with what we're doing in free agency, what we've already done, what we might do later, I just think that a wide receiver in the first round is not the end of the world, but I also think we can utilize that 25th pick in a different way. So, like I said, who knows?
Yeah, I have a lot of studying to do prior to the draft. So
I think we all do. We all do. These people who watch college football like heavily, and they're like writing people's names down. They're like, this guy for, you know, this team in this year, and you're like, I don't know. I just go with who's popping up at the ground now.
Yeah, honestly, like that's extreme. Like, I'm big into college football, but I know the people that you're talking about. I'm like, oh my God, how do they, like? I don't have time. Like, I focus like on the NFL, like full time. Like,
I can't do both.
It's like secondary for me, but like, I get it. Like, I know who the people are, but like, there's so many other people that I have like no idea.
100%. I'm the same way.
All right. So this is an open-ended question for just pretty much every team, not Giants related. But what team do you think is in the most trouble, I guess, going into the 2023 season? And this can honestly be like for their roster, coaching, salary cap, anything kind of like, what do you think? What team's going to run into some roadblocks and some trouble?
Honestly, apart from like the Texans, which I
And they
think
can't,
everybody knows is
unless
just
they get Bryce Young. So
yeah, which they might, or CJ Stroud. Like, who knows?
Yeah.
Like, they need a quarterback. They're gonna get a quarterback in the draft. Like, that's the
yeah.
bottom line.
Yep.
But they got rid of Kyle Allen, who was like one of their backups. He went to Buffalo. And they've been falling apart at the seams for years now.
Yeah.
But apart from them, I feel like this might be good for us, is that all of a sudden the Commanders like swiped everybody out and they're just like bringing in like Jacoby Brissett, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, like Taylor Heineke
Right.
no more. Why? I don't know.
I know. I was confused about that too.
Yeah, it's like the Commanders, I feel like, are not our team division wise will probably still put up a fight against the NFC East.
Right.
But in terms of the league, I cannot see that team going anywhere. And I mean, Jacoby Brissett held his own in Cleveland with everything going on with Deshaun Watson.
Right.
And could do what he could for that team. And I feel like that's what Jacoby Brissett does. He pops around to these teams that are just like, we just need somebody that can like put points on the board, maybe win us a game every once in a while. So the Commanders, I mean, Brian Robinson and like I think they got rid of JD McKissick, I think. So like I think the Commanders are just kind of
wiping it.
Yeah. Just figuring it out. They got ownership issues. They got they were like, Carson Wentz, no thanks, never mind. I'm not interested anymore.
Yeah.
And like it's just like weird. Like they don't really have any stars. I mean, Chase Young was supposed to be like their shining light, and this man has barely done anything for this team. So I mean, it's good for us.
Oh, absolutely.
Good for us, but not great for them.
Yeah. No, I think it's an interesting team to point out because there's so many different factors. Like you said, like right now they're losing a lot of people to, trades and things like that within free agency. They are pulling people in, but you're kind of wondering why they're pulling people in.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, so upset that Nick Gates went to them. That was
that's like the one thing.
I was so blindsided by that. Like I didn't even know that was up for like discussion. So like I'm like so upset about that.
I knew he was a free agent, but I was nah, he's gonna stay.
Yeah, like so. But they are pulling in, like we obviously are obsessed with Nick Gates as Giants fans, but like around the NFL, like another team might see that and be like, all right, they just pulled in a lot. You know what I mean? Like it might not be that scary to other people. But you're right. They're making a lot of moves. They've got awful management issues, coaching. I'm not the biggest believer in Ron Rivera in Washington.
I used to love him in Carolina.
That's the biggest asterisk though. I think he's a really good coach.
Yes.
It's the in Washington part. It's not good there. And
I agree.
If they have another weird season, he's got to go. And maybe he'll find success somewhere else. I'm just the night and day, like between, Carolina and Washington has been very weird for me to see him just not do great there.
Yeah. I mean, the man went to a Super Bowl with Cam Newton. Like, imagine nobody knowing anything about the world. And like a year ago, you told somebody that Ron Rivera and Cam Newton went to the Super Bowl.
I know.
Like, nobody would believe you. No one.
Like, no one.
Yeah.
That's too funny.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, we will see about the Commanders in 2023 if they are in trouble, but definitely, and honestly, if you're watching live, who do you think's in trouble? I think a couple of teams are in trouble, but we will see that as it pans out, as the rest of free agency is underway. We get into the draft, we get into preseason, and we move into the 2023 season, which please get here because I miss football dearly. So all right, so this is my favorite segment of Third and Wine. It is a segment where you can literally just complain. It is called Wine It Out. So drink your wine, love it, complain about anything you want. Sam, what do you want to whine about tonight?
I touched on it earlier in the show, but I'm going to complain about the entire Jets quarterback situation because I spent an hour of my life yesterday watching the Pat McAfee show live because I thought Aaron Rodgers was
brutal. I hate that show.
It honestly, it was a difficult watch. And the funny thing is that I had spoken to my mom afterwards and she was just like, oh, like, how's your day been? And I'm like, yeah, it's been like pretty good, whatever. And like, as a joke, she was like, do any drugs today? And I was like, well, I watched Aaron Rodgers speak for an hour. So basically I did mushrooms today.
Basically.
this man, and the thing is too, if I may get into this, like deep into this whine it out segment, I grew up and since middle school, I loved Aaron Rodgers. I it was like Giants, Packers. I had Packers gear. My brother bought me Packers keychains. Like I loved Aaron Rodgers so much. And like all this, obviously as time went on in these past couple of years, he's gotten a little weird. And I was like, oh, you're making it hard to like you, dude. And like the more I've gotten to know him, he's a smart guy. The more I've gotten to know him, like I've spoken to. But like, he's just loves to hear himself talk.
Yeah.
And I am like, dude, like the second that he knows anyone's looking at him, he will try and hold your attention for as long as possible. And even when you don't want to listen to him anymore, he will like sprinkle something in that you're like, oh, are you going to the New York Jets? And he's like, so when I was in the darkness, and I'm like, oh my God, just tell me whether or not you're going to be in New York. And I watched that whole thing because I was like, after he said that he was like intending to play, I was like, maybe something else will sprinkle in here or there. Oh my God. And nothing happened basically. And then on the other side of things, Zach Wilson, who just annoys the crap out of me anyway. Just the fact that the thing is that I kept going back to was that Zach Wilson, like months ago, said that he was going to make the veteran quarterback who the Jets ended up signing, that he was like, I'm going to make his life a living hell. And I was like
doing what?
I was like, yeah, like, like bringing him into the city, going out at bounce. Like, I don't know, like, what are you talking about? And like the fact that now it's probably going to be Aaron Rodgers. I'm like, you're not going to do shit. You're not going to do anything to Aaron Rodgers because Aaron Rodgers is terrifying. Like, you're not going to do anything. And the joke was too, is that like while I was watching this, I was like, I wonder if Zach Wilson is sitting here watching the Pat McAfee show to figure out whether or not Aaron Rodgers.
He definitely was.
100%. You have to assume, right? Like that,
100%.
Like somebody who's like trying to come after your job. If you think that they're going to talk about it on live TV or live YouTube, I'd go sit and watch it too.
Oh yeah.
But either way, the Jets situation is just, it's a mess. And they're literally just turning into the Packers. And while I feel like it'll be an entertaining watch for the rest of this offseason, and obviously when the time does come around that we get to watch them actually play football, my God, this has just been excruciating. And I wish that somebody would just tell. And it also was the report that came out that was like, it's done. And then we were like, it's done. And like Schefter and Ian Rappaport were just like, nothing. Silence, radio silence. And I was like, can someone just give me some? I just need to know whether or not this is going down or not. So I've just been annoyed with that this entire week, and it affects my job because I'm sitting there like ready to post about things, and they're like,
"Well,
it's ridiculous and it's infuriating."
Yeah, well, I feel bad for you. Like that's like honestly like what I'm thinking about. Like during your whole rant, I was like, "Shit!" Like you are waiting around. Like it literally is your job to like report on these things, like create like things for it, and like you just constantly waiting. And I
have literally drafted so many Instagram posts. I have they're still in my drafts. It's just like a line of different Aaron Rodgers graphics that's like, he's going to play. He's not going to play. He intends to play.
You have to be ready for that.
This is what he said. And I was like, just tell me what's going on. And nobody's telling us what's going on. And it's ridiculous. And it's just pissing me off. And I'm just ready to know whether or not Aaron Rodgers is becoming the next Brett Favre. That's all I want to know.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that happening, honestly. He just, I think you're right. Like every time he gets someone's attention, he wants to hold it. I think right now it's he knows the world is following him. So he wants to keep it going, which is just super frustrating. I feel bad for the Jets. To be fully transparent, like Jets management and like their ownership, grow a fucking set of balls and pull out of the deal. Like, I'm sorry, because if you have a shitty season with Aaron Rodgers, he's going to retire next year. So you wasted all of the money and the assets that you're putting towards him. You're not going to be able to pay a guy like Quinnen Williams. His contract is coming up and he is probably the best thing to happen to the New York Jets in a very long time. So you're going to put all your eggs in this one basket for it to fail, for him to leave. If I were the Jets management right now, and here's my little whine it out for you, I would pull out of it. Pull out of it now. Run as fast as you can, because he's been clearly dragging this along. Like, he's not going to win you a Super Bowl. He's not going to. Like, that's the full thing too. Like, people need to understand. Like, the New York Jets, I will laugh if you don't even fucking go to the playoffs next year with him. Like, get a grip of reality. Like Aaron, and to me, every time I see Aaron Rodgers these days, when I hear him talk, even this last season, like he's just not an NFL player to me anymore. He doesn't seem like an NFL quarterback. Like I don't see it anymore in him. And it's the physical state, it's the mental state. I don't see it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because, like I said, I've been a huge Aaron Rodgers fan for a long. I have an Aaron Rodgers jersey. It doesn't fit me anymore, but I don't have the heart in me to give it away or like donate it or anything like that. So it's sad to see the change. It's almost like falling out of love with someone, and it's like rude. It's like worse than breaking up. It's like not having the same feelings you had before. But I wish that he would just be like, you know what, this is what's going on, this, that, and the other thing. Here's just what I know.
Say it. Like,
yeah, and it's all about compensation too. And it's about, getting freaking Jordy Nelson out of retirement to go to the Jets and Randall
just
Cobb.
Don't go on the Pat McAfee show then. Just shut your mouth and let it happen behind the scenes.
Yeah, but you know what? He's big. He's gone on Pat McAfee every week, like all of the like NFL season. Like that's just like what he does. And he figured if he's going to give any kind of scoop, he's going to give it to Pat. So I assume that's why he did it. But also like, they started out and he was just like, how was the darkness? And he was like, well, day 1. And I was like,
God, no.
I can't hear about your darkness retreat, Aaron. I really, you sat in the dark. I get it. You hallucinated. You like ate, whatever. I get it. Nobody cares.
No one does. Honestly. No one does.
And that's my wind it out.
I absolutely love it. What a wind it out. That's exactly what the segment is meant for, and clearly something to just get it out there. So I totally feel you on that one. All right, Sam, this has been absolutely incredible. I appreciate you coming on Third and Wine with me. I just want to give a little shout out to our audience and remind them, keep your Instagram, your Twitter open because stuff is still happening. Shit probably happened while we were on filming this live.
Yeah.
Right, I have to go look at my Twitter. So honestly, keep that open. You can follow Third and Wine. I'm retweeting everything, posting everything on Instagram. It is like, I can't do it anymore. My fingers hurt. I'm trying posting everything out there. So, and then obviously follow me on Twitter, you get my reaction. Obviously, follow Sam as well. And listen, we are 42 days away from the NFL draft. So exciting. I love giving everyone reminders how far away we are because it's coming up close and it gives us football fans something to look forward to. But as we close out this episode, Sam, one more time, where can everybody find you?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm on Twitter at SamTGWTS. I'm on Instagram at The Girl Who Talks Sports. And if you want to follow me on our work accounts, it is Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all MOJO at Mojo. We post some really funny meme stuff sometimes, so it's a good time if you want to follow us over there. Sports Stock Market. And yeah, I mean, I don't put out a lot of content anymore, but I'm on Twitter right now, like hardcore on Twitter right now. So.
Awesome. All right. Well, Sam, thank you so much. And thank you to our audience tuning in live or listening to the podcast. I really appreciate it. Cheers. And thanks for watching Third and Wine.